All right, and we are revisiting episode 5 of book 1 of Avatar: The Last Airbender, The King of Omashu.
Yeah.
We're back again. This is an episode that introduces one of my favorite characters in all of the world of Avatar, King Bumi. I love him so much, and so I'm so psyched to be able to talk about him, to talk about this episode. And one of the big things about this episode, as we all know, are the 3 trials that King Bumi puts Aang throughout this episode. Now, we want to go in depth and basically decipher what each of these trials means as far as where Aang is at this point in his journey.
Yeah, and I'm just saying we do understand like the overlaying theme of you have to think of all the possibilities. You have to open yourself to all the possibilities. That's the main theme of all 3 trials, but we wanted to sort of like get more specific.
Right, exactly. So with this first trial, Aang has to basically get the key for Bumi, which has somehow been placed inside a waterfall. One of the interesting things that I kind of thought was a little bit odd for Aang specifically was that he kind of kept going head first, which based on what we know about his training, his teaching, the philosophy of the Airbenders, generally, you don't really go at a problem head first like that. So at first I was like, oh, so that was the whole thing of, you know, his training with Toph was learning how to attack at something at first. And so it was a little interesting seeing him take that approach. I don't know, maybe it was some kind of writing oversight or some...
I think he was desperate, you know? He saw that Sokka and Katara were in a bad situation.
Yeah, I will say that it did seem odd, but at the same time, he was eventually able to figure it out. And figure it out using quote-unquote Earth without, you know, earthbending.
Right. And you mentioned a theory of how like one of the main things about this trial was trying to get Aang to essentially bend another element, which if he used earthbending, it would have been a lot easier. And also if he used waterbending, it would have been a lot easier as well.
Exactly.
But his main thing was using airbending. And in a lot of ways, Aang didn't really open himself to those possibilities, but I guess it's just because he had 0 experience with it, so that's why.
Yeah, I would agree on that.
Right.
But yeah, the interesting about thing about the first one, I feel like specifically the first one, it's more like how you plan and strategize and how you attack, or like what angle do you go from, which is again very interesting to contrast with the whole Toph thing. Like it's different, right? Because like one is primarily just learning strategy overall, and then another one is learning how to earthbend. And I also think this one's mainly for like how to accomplish a mission.
Yeah. On to trial 2. So we notice that King Bumi presents this, you know, pet that, oh, I just want Flopsy. But, you know, we first thought Flopsy was this small little creature, but it's pretty quickly when he picks it up that, oh, wait a minute, Flopsy's this giant thing. And what's so interesting about this whole dynamic is the idea of misdirect, right? Which is the idea that things that we think or things that appear to us, like what we think is right cannot be right. Things can be very deceptive, and it's up to us to often think, okay, what else could this be as opposed to this has to be it, you know?
Yeah, Flopsy apparently is like a common name for bunnies or something, rabbits. And then the actual Flopsy is a pet gorilla goat in Avatar, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
this one pretty straightforward, and I feel like this actually plays into the future where, you know, Aang meets the Earth King and realizes the Earth King doesn't even have that much power.
Things are not always as they appear.
Yeah. And I do feel like Aang didn't really fully comprehend this lesson, but that's okay. Because like, think about it, right? Trial number 3, he sees 3 options in front of him, and it's interesting. It's almost like Bumi, the way he was phrasing it was like he was pushing Aang to choose him, you know? It's like, okay, here are your 3 choices. I'm gonna place these 2 vicious looking guys next to me, a sickly old man looking guy, and then see which one you choose. It's like he was asking for it. He was sort of like prepping him to be clever because of the first 2 trials, but by him thinking that he's clever, he wasn't.
Also, that trial has another aspect to it where Aang kind of was trying to take the easy way out. What he thought was the easy way out. And what he figures out is that sometimes trying to take the easy way out is, on one end, the more difficult path, because you try to cut corners and then all of a sudden everything falls apart around you later on.
Yeah, that's a good one. That is a good one. And then the trial also contained a fight between those two. And I feel like the fight in itself is its own sort of lesson, where Bumi is trying to teach Aang to be not just someone who follows the tendencies of a normal airbender, but to break out of it and use attacks that are harsher and more like direct, and also like you gotta actually fight and get to Bumi instead of just running away, because that's just what you're gonna have to do when you're fighting the Fire Nation.
Yeah, he can't just evade and avoid anymore. So I think that was a great lesson for him to learn.
And then there's also that extra bonus sort of trial where Aang has to guess Bumi's name. This one I don't have as much as in-depth analysis on. I feel like, it's just for the heartwarming ending of the episode. But I think it's a good lesson to think. You assume everybody died. Like, you assume everybody you knew from back then died. It opens the possibilities of other people he might know still being alive as well. So it's like the final nail in the coffin, where he drives home the lesson of how you really got to open your mind to the possibilities.
I like that, although you can make the argument he had the mentality in episode 3 that, there's somebody still alive, and then you realize that almost everyone basically is dead in a war. But now he's realized, when you open the world to possibilities, you realize, or one friend is still alive. So it kind of goes back to that theme. So yeah, I like that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that's what made this episode like really, really great for me. It's just the character moments and also the 3 trials. Like, if you really, really look into them, a lot of it is speculation, but at the same time, it's really fun. And we want to know your thoughts on what you think about each trial and what they represent. So go ahead and leave those in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
Peace.